So we're going to start laying on our back, on our spine, and it's called supine because we are on the spine. And see if you can kind of picture in your mind's eye your spine. But before we get to the spine, just feel the heels touching the floor and see where they are touching the floor. Are they on the inside, outside, on the center? Is the right heel laying on the floor like the left one? Is one heavier than the other? And compare between these two. And then in your mind's eye,
and turn left onto Beach Boulevard South.
climb up towards your tailbone and picture the tailbone as it curves into your body and then comes out and you feel it laying on the ground, climbing up into the sacrum, the flat bone in between your two cheeks, shaped like a triangle, climbing up to the 5 lumbar vertebrae that are somewhat probably off the floor. Can you sense the space between the floor and the lumbar? And up to 10 vertebrae along the center of your spine, climbing up between the ribs that attach to them, and in all the way up between your shoulder blades, and see if there's a different shape between the lower thoracic vertebrae to the upper one. Can you sense the space between the vertebrae to the right shoulder blades and to the left scapula? And then climb up all the way to your neck, to the 7 vertebrae in your neck. And again, see if there is a space between the floor and your neck, and how much space. Is the space between the floor and the neck is similar to the space between the floor and your lumbar? Is one larger? One smaller? And to end that scanning, where is your head? Is it centered? Is it not? In what way? We're going to skip the kind of the legs and the arms for right now, because we're going to deal with the connection between the head and the tail and the length of the body. So go ahead and move your eyes up towards the ceiling and above, and lower the eyes down towards your chin. And up towards the ceiling and above, and down towards your chin and your belly button. And as you move your eyes, allow your nose and your chin to follow, and move the head up and move the head down. Light and easy. And as you get used to that movement of the head going down and up, see if you can relate it to the pelvis and have your pelvis echo what the head is doing. You don't need to match it in size, but see if you can find the echo through the rest of the vertebrae, that the movement of the head is somehow reflected in your pelvis. And keep on doing it. Your legs are straight. If you can, keep your legs straight so you can feel the echo. Because as we're going to keep on going, You're going to slowly try to get it all the way down to your feet and see if the movement of the nose, of the eyes, up and down, up above your head and down towards your chest, create an echo in your pelvis and an echo in the feet. Mhm. And let that go. And now move your toes up towards your face and down towards the floor. Start very gentle. Stay away from exercising your ankles, but just move the feet and see if there is a reflection or echoing the movement of the feet up towards your pelvis and up towards your head and down. So when you bring your toes up towards your face, does your pelvis move? Does your nose move? And when you pull the toes down towards the floor, does it pull your pelvis and pull your chin down towards the chest? And when you bring the toes up, the lumbar space is getting smaller and it gets closer to the ground and your nose comes a little bit higher towards the ceiling. And when you move the toes down, the arch in your lower back is getting higher, and the neck curvature is getting flatter. See if you can find it. Don't force it, just find it. There's a huge difference between allowing it to happen to forcing it. So work slowly and see if you can find how the body is connected. Let it go. Let your legs rest. Let your body rest. And only in your mind's eye, move your feet up and down. And see if you can picture in your mind's eye, in your brain, that connection between the movement of your toes and your heel and your ankle, up the chain and down the chain. And let that image go. And do it again with 2 feet going up and both feet going down. And I will invite you to either open your eyes or pay attention to the movement of the eyeballs with your eyes closed and see if your eyes are moving up when your feet are coming towards your face and if your eyeballs going down towards your cheeks when your feet are going down towards the floor. And let that go. And bring your heels to the center, more or less. So it's the center of the heel, not on the outside, but more towards the center. And we're going to move the toes and the feet up and down really quickly, like you're trying to rock a baby to sleep. If you need to say it, you can say it. But move the feet up and down, and see if your hip is moving, if your neck is moving, if your nose is moving. Create a full body movement. Easy, 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 easy. Da, 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 da. Too much? Try like this.
I can't get my head down without pain.
Try like this.
Okay, just let my hands up. Thank you.
And let it go. And now move only the left foot up and down. Up and down. Only the left foot moves up and down. And see if you can direct the movement, if you don't feel it going to the right shoulder blade, to the scapula, if you can picture it and kind of gently direct it. Can you sense that when the left leg is the only one that's moving, the foot, the trajectory of the line will go into the opposite shoulder blade. Can you feel that your right hip is getting closer to the floor when your left ankle is moving and the toes are coming up towards the ceiling? Try to do it really, really slowly. Actually, open your legs a little bit wider than hip, just a little bit wider, and do it really slow and see if you can feel it going into the opposite side of your body. And let it go. And rest. And notice how your pelvis is laying on the floor. And try with the right leg. The right leg will move up, and the movement will very gently move to the opposite side of your body. If you're doing it fast, try to slow it down so you feel it's like you don't miss any flower on the way. You don't miss any smell on the way. And then if you want to try it fast, because it's raining or something, do it fast. But at least have different variations so you know how your body is responding and what you're sensing and what you're feeling. And talk to yourself while you're doing it, because that's a big part of the whole thing, is the awareness of what we're doing, how we're doing, so we have a choice. Okay, try now.
This is where there's like a sound.
That's why I lifted you
Yeah.
on the shoulder.
Thank you.
And if you have a clear picture of that side, do one and then do the other. And you can put your fingers on your hip bones and feel that when you pull the foot up, that pelvis is responding and the opposite pelvis is getting closer to the ground. See if you can feel the movement of the pelvis right and left, depending on what you're doing with your feet. And as you're doing it, And as you're finding it, see yourself walking. The movement of the foot is what we're doing as we are lifting the foot off the ground before we put it back on the ground. See how it's responding to your pelvis and how it's being carried all the way up the spine to the opposite shoulder. And that's why we go with the opposite arm in front. You know, if you see in your mind's eye a soldier going right, left, right, left, right, left, it's always the right foot and the left arm, and the left foot and the right arm. Good, and let it go. And go ahead and bend your knees. And keep on walking with the right foot toes lifted and left foot toes lifted. So the heel stays on the ground, but the toes and the rest of the foot is being lifted, maybe like a marionette with a string attached to the top of your foot. And again, notice how the weight goes into the opposite side of your pelvis and to the opposite shoulder. So when I'm lifting my left toes, the weight rolls to my right. And when I lift my right toes, the weight of my body rolls towards my left shoulder. And get it nice and clear, creating an X in your back. Take your time. If there is some part of the X of that trajectory of that line not clear, slow it down so you can feel it more. See if you can create a rhythm. And let it go and rest your ankles. The next exploration, we're going to do it very, very slowly, like a slow motion, to where you feel the ribs rolling to that side. Do very, very slowly, like at least 10 times slower than you did before. And allow the ribs, the hip and the ribs and the shoulder to go to the other side. So as your foot comes up, everything is rolling all the way to the shoulder blades. But see if you can sense a movement of the ribs being part of it. See if you can slow it so much that the ribs have time to participate. Can you feel the floating ribs in the back of your back getting closer to the ground? Maybe you're ironing them. How far down the side of the ribs do you get? Is your pelvis getting off the floor on the side that the foot is being lifted? And notice I'm using a passive tense. The foot is lifted like the marionette. Somebody's pulling the string. And that lifts the pelvis on that side. And I'm rolling to my floating ribs. And I'm ironing the rest of the ribs until I find the scapula and the shoulder blade on that side. And then you slowly, gently, putting each rib back together into the floor. And feel the tension of the pulling of that string or the releasing of that string to find the connection going to the opposite side and to utilizing not just the opposition but the movement of the ribs, the rolling of the ribs. Are you breathing in and out in a continuous way? Is there one part that's has more tension and you're holding your breath? How can you smooth it out? Is your pelvis rolling to the opposite side? Is one side is lifted off the floor? Can you feel the space between your shoulder blades? So the next time that you're rolling to the opposite side by lifting or being lifted by the string, see if you can feel the space between your shoulder blades. For most of us, it's kind of a dead space. And especially when the string is releasing the foot, can you bring the space between the shoulder blades to the floor and be aware of it? Make it alive in your mind's eye. And one more time to the side that you're doing, whichever it is. And as you're lowering the string from the top of your foot, you are ironing the back to the ground, and the space between your shoulder blades is vibrating with your awareness. And when you get down, lengthen your legs. And have your eyes hanging up on the ceiling, so to speak, looking at yourself from the top down. And on the next exhalation, just see what you feel, see what you see. What happened to the spaces between your lumbar and the floor, between your neck and the floor? What happened to the space between your shoulder blades and the floor, between the tailbone and the floor? Can you hold a picture of your whole spine in your mind's eye? And on the next exhalation, roll to a side, and from that side, roll up to a sitting position. And from a sitting position, come to all four. I like to call it all six because my hands are on the floor, my knees are on the floor, and my feet are on the floor as well. We are looking for a place where the hands are somewhat underneath the shoulders and there's the least tension. If it becomes uncomfortable, you can make a fist and put your knuckles down, but we're going to be here for about 15 minutes. So go ahead and move your pelvis back and move your pelvis forward. Move the pelvis back and move the pelvis forward. If you are able to see your knees, see if your feet are aligned and you cannot see your heels. And if you can't see the heels, try to move them so your knees, the thighs are blocking your heels. for a better alignment. Your feet can be either flat or like hammer toes, whichever one you choose right now. As you lengthen the pelvis forward, see if you can open your tailbone as a peacock is opening its feather to show the beauty of the feather. And as you bring the pelvis back, all those feathers are coming back in, and you have a very long tail. Don't tuck it under, don't tuck it, just let it be. And as you go, feel how everything is opening and reaching out and maybe even up a little bit and affecting your lumbar area, and all your feathers are opening up. And keep that image of the feathers coming together and hanging long behind you and opening up as your pelvis is going further back and opening up. So there is a relaxation of the anus and relaxation of the whole pelvis down and back. Keep on analyzing and reporting to yourself what it is that you sense and what it is that you feel. Are you going towards one side more than the other? Are you going in the center? Are you able to relax? Is it a movement that makes you uncomfortable emotionally? Is it uncomfortable physically? What's going on? It's not something that we do usually in our society. Is your belly button dropping down as your pelvis goes back? So now we're going to kind of let go the image of the feathers, and we're going to go into the front of the pelvis and come up for a minute, let go your hands, relax your hands for a minute. You can either sit down for a second and rest. So the next movement will be visualizing and paying attention to the front rather than the back, and we're going to have the lingual ligament, the fall here where the underwear is. We're going to drop, and we're going to be like putting the top of the hip on the thigh. So it's like we're creating a sandwich. Okay? So we're going to have the hands here again, and we're going to sandwich the top of the hip on top of the thigh. Okay? So we're not bending the elbows. We are taking the pelvis back, and we're bringing the front of the pelvis closer to the thigh. So it's the same exact movement, but the image is different, and I want us to feel how it affects the movement and what we sense and what we're able to do. If we are looking at it from the back and the feathers, or we're looking at it from the front, is creating a sandwich, putting the top of the hip on top of the thighs. Which one do you like more?
So it's like you're trying to fold those two together.
Correct.
You're trying to touch them.
You're folding the top of your hip and bringing it closer to your thighs. So rest for a minute, and I'll demonstrate. So if the ilium bone is trying to get closer to the thigh, so it's this movement. That's if I'm doing it small. This is if I'm doing it bigger. This is if I'm doing it bigger. If I'm very flexible, my hip can be touching my thigh. But that's not the goal. The goal is to feel how it affects the lumbar and your neck, and how it relaxes the pelvis on the bottom here. Okay? So stay away from achievement, because we're not doing an exercise class. We could, but that's not what we decided to look at and the ways to look at it. The exercise is a byproduct. It's not the goal. And when you are bringing the pelvis closer to the thighs, does it affect your neck, your lumbar, your neck, and are your eyes coming up into the horizon? So being an animal of sort, think about, okay, let's say I'm going to give you another image. Think about a dog. So you're a dog right now, and somebody is pulling your tail, and the dog is going towards sitting. How does it affect its back and head? Right? So all the Sphinx, all the pictures of the Sphinx or dogs, right? This is the picture that we see. So we're here. So how do we get to relax the tailbone and affect the lumbar and the neck, just like what we did laying down? I'm just taking it to a different, it's the same thing that we did for the first half hour. Keep on playing with putting the hands in slightly different angle, different distance, different rotation, and see how it affects your shoulder blades, the space between your shoulder blades, the curve in the lumbar and the neck. Jeanette, if you can really pay attention to when the lumbar curves, the neck curve, and your eyes are on the horizon, rather than keeping the eyes down and nothing, and just relying only on the pelvis. So the eye movement is as important, super important. Without the eyes, we have no idea how to protect ourselves and where to go. Right? So if I need to jump from here, I need to see, boom! Right? And go ahead and rest for a minute, let the arm go. Either sit and rest or lie down and rest.
But I was so tight here.
It's not easy, and it's not easy on the fingers. The last thing that we're going to do, we're going to take the same thing. So rest for a minute. I'm just looking at the time. We're going to be here. So the tail is leading me back. I'm responding in my lumbar. I'm responding in my neck, and I'm looking up here. But now, whoever pulled my tail, now they're pulling me Pinocchio in my nose. And I'm going forward and forward and forward and forward and forward. Okay, so we're going to find the connection between this and that. And look how my eyes and my head are responding. Or I can go down here and relax completely. But if we're doing what we did here, my eyes are on the horizon, my eyes are relaxing, and my eyes on the horizon again. My eyes are relaxing, and my eyes on the horizon again. Okay? So let's play how the eyes are my leader, my pelvis is the strong propeller, and see if you can do it a few times, rest, do it a few times and rest. So the arms are underneath the shoulders. And we're looking, somebody's pulling our tail behind and we're looking. And feel how your whole back is in contraction and flexion. Relax the muscle of your back. Relax the eyes, relax the head. Move forward just as much as you can, and your eyes are going back into the horizon. Or maybe even higher than the horizon. And relax the eyes, relax the head, come to neutral. And allow the tail to be pulled. Allow it. Enjoy, because now it stretches you front and you're looking at the horizon. So it's a play between the extensors and the flexors. The flexors are in the front of our body. The extensors are in the back of our body. So now our spine is flexed. Now we're in relaxation. And now again, if we go down enough, the back is flexed, the extensors are flexed, the front is stretched. In relaxation center, enjoy that moment of equilibrium where you're just resting on 6, and then let the eyes lead and let the pelvis propel the movement. Eyes, Jeanette, look at the eyes. Up, drop the shoulder blades. Lift your head a little higher. There. And go back. And rest your head now. Rest your spine. Put your hands underneath your forehead and rest in baby pose.
No. You know, on top of everything else that happened to me, last night I was eating up chili, and smoke started pouring out of my mouth. So I put it out in the garbage today. Yeah, I put it.
Then come out of it and come to laying down.
Can't believe it.
Another quick scan. How are my heels touching the floor? How about my right one? How about my left one? How do I sense my tailbone? The space underneath your lumbar. Coming up in between my ribs. The space in between my shoulder blades. How are my scapulas laying on the floor now? The space between my neck and the floor. Is there any difference in the picture that I have of my body? Is there more ease in laying down flat? And just take a minute to enjoy that flatness, that width of breath. And when you're ready, roll to a side. And from that side, come up to sitting. And from sitting, we're going to get up to standing and see if there's any difference in the way that we carry ourselves in vertical, against gravity. So go ahead and roll yourself and come up to standing. Take a minute to find